Denver Bronco Roundup here in about 60 seconds. Stay tuned. Hey, Denver Bronco Roundup, Tuesday, 6:45. A little bit off. Usually coming in here about 6:30 p.m. But here we are, the Denver Bronco Roundup. I'm Keith Brugman. Thank you for joining me. Over to my, left, right, Jody Moncrief. Jody, how you doing, sir?
Good, and you guys?
Doing fantastic, sir. Good to have you on. And yeah, I know. Try to get pointing in the right direction. Very good, Dutchy. Very good. I'm not going to give it a try. Just down below. Yep. Down here. Down here. We got the Dutchy coming in. Dutchy, welcome to the show, sir. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. We had a really good draft and some other good news. And yeah, let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling is right, buddy. I'm excited, man. It's our first breakdown after the draft. You guys were here with me for a couple of the days of this draft. The first couple of days, we got to see a little bit of action in that time. Unfortunately, life does happen, and you guys were missing for day 3. I didn't even get through all of day 3. So it's kind of a recap for not only me, you, myself, but everybody out there, all of Broncos Country, from DBR to you guys, and excited to bring it to you guys. So, couple things right off the top. The Dutchy, right before we got on, mentioned a little anniversary of today, and it's worth mentioning. Albert, why don't you drop some of that knowledge on us? And for those of you who don't know, what's today the anniversary of?
So today is the anniversary of one of the greatest ever played for the Broncos, coming to the Broncos by a trade, and his name is John Elway. And that was exactly 40 years ago today.
40 years ago today. I was thinking about how I was going to introduce that, and I'm glad that you did it, because my thought was, right before I came on the show, I tripped going up the stairs. It's not a very graceful thing to ever do. It never looks pretty, especially when you got your hands full of stuff. And unfortunately, 40 years ago today, the Colts kind of had to trip up the stairs and give up John Elway, as John Elway refused to play for the Colts. And quite honestly, we got him for a steal, guys. So,
yep.
Digressing from some fantastic highlights of bringing a Hall of Famer, John Elway, to the Denver Broncos, we did just want to get this out of the way right off the bat, guys. As you guys, many of you know, Shaq Barrett once played for the Denver Broncos. He was, at the time, we had so much depth at edge rusher, we couldn't find a way to get him on the field, and he ended up going and playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Unfortunately, just a day or two ago, his 2-year-old drowned in a pool accident, and we just want to, obviously offer our condolences to him, his family, everyone around. Can't ever imagine losing a child. Luckily, my children have now grown up. I still don't want to lose them, but losing a small child like that would just be devastating. My thoughts are with with the Barrett family and all those around him. So, anybody else want to add anything on that?
And we will keep them in our prayers.
Very good, Dutchie. Jody, anything? Or we
No,
said it all?
I'll just second that. I mean, it's a pretty sad situation.
It is. It is. But one worth recognizing, and like I said, there was never any ill will towards Shaq Barrett, even when he left, and certainly doesn't deserve any now. Our thoughts and prayers are with him, as Dutchie added in. So, all right, guys. Moving on from some sad news, like I said, whole 7 rounds of worth of action, man, and we almost ended up getting involved from the first to the last. Almost, we end up jumping up into that second round. We're going to go over these picks, guys, but anything that not Broncos related, or maybe it is slightly Broncos related, anything that you just took from the draft in general. Was there anything that like just stood out, or was different, or was a highlight, or you name it? Anything you want to talk about, especially just from a higher level perspective.
Also, one thing that I realized is that Roger Goodell is getting old. He was very slow getting to the podium, and the other thing that if you take a look at all the rankings, they're all over the place. You cannot even rely on one single ranking, because for the one place, the Denver Broncos are in the top 5, and another one you're in the bottom 2. So they're all over the place. So that is something I think we have to make up your own mind what you think the grade is, and if you think it is good, keep it at that and keep true to your opinion.
Very good, man. Yeah, rankings, especially right after, can be all over the place, and I 100% agree with that. Jody, anything from the draft that you took? Anything you enjoyed, or want to share with the DBR fans out there?
2 things I noticed. There were lots of rumors that we were going to take a quarterback and take him high, and we didn't take a quarterback at all.
Very good.
And running back, we either are sold that Javonte Williams really is ahead of schedule or on pace, or we're really sold on P. Ryan or have something else in the plans.
I have something on that, but I will tell you in a second.
All right, man.
I mean, if we were going to address, if we're going to be a run first team, I'm not sure that you can go in with P. Ryan and Tony Jones as your 2 running backs.
This is true. And I think I know what Dutchie Albert might be heading towards, so I'm going to leave it for him. We'll talk about it in a little bit. One of the things I did want to note from the NFL draft, for the first time ever, there were 3 quarterbacks taken. All happened to be black quarterbacks, the first top 3. That was a first in this. And I just want to point it out because we need to continue this process. I was a kid of the 80s where you were lucky to see a black quarterback on an NFL field. If he did, it was most likely in the preseason. Warmed up to where you started to see some Warren Moons and some Randall Cunninghams start to take some steps in the right direction. But it was a very, very long process before the black quarterback was accepted in this league, and to be to the point where we were in the 2023 draft where the first 3 quarterbacks were all black quarterbacks. Amazing progression, and just wanting to continue to see that in our sport. And that goes for all races and ethnicities for that matter. So at one point I still remember there used to be a few kickers that were of either Spanish or Mexican descent too, and we need to continue down those paths as well, as if the NFL really wants to talk about diversity and grow it around the globe. So just hats off. I think that's just like I said, a step in the right direction. Certainly talks about where we're going at in this league, and And maybe that just can be a trickle up effect, because that's certainly what we need to see happen when it comes to head coaches, GMs, and ownership as well. So, gentlemen, let's just jump right in. Albert,
Mm-hmm.
I want to get your favorite pick overall of this draft, and if you're listening in at home or have the ability to text in a comment, love to get your thoughts as well. Who was your favorite addition to this roster out of this draft?
For me, it has to be Jail Skinner, the safety. I had him on my list as top two safeties. Then number one, they went way earlier. But yeah, Skinner was one of my favorite picks because I think he will be a really good fit, and he is indeed a hard-hitting safety.
Mm-hmm.
He is not afraid to get into the line against running backs and stuff, but he is also able to pick up a tight end, so he's not afraid of that as well. I'm really happy with that pick.
100% agree, but J.L. Skinner out of Boise State was a great pickup. Going to be interested to see exactly how he fits into this room, and maybe we'll get into that in a second after we kind of go around the horn, kind of how these guys fit into our roster as well. But Jody, who was your favorite addition from this 2023 draft onto the Denver Broncos roster?
Drew Sanders for me. A hybrid linebacker that can play both inside and outside. Really fast. Good coverage skills. Does get a little bit, if you watch tape, does get a little bit lost, in the run game. But I think they'll work on that, and they'll get him in positions where he'll be covering, and he can rush the passer as well.
Definitely can rush the passer. That guy's lightning quick, man. Lightning quick, and maybe we'll hit some stats here in just a little bit. But even his stats, if you look at like 40 times and the like, do not really show how quick he is to the ball, how quick he can diagnose and get through the mix sometimes. So the reason I phrased my question the way I did, gentlemen, is because, quite honestly, I wanted to make sure that I could say this. My favorite addition from the 2023 NFL draft onto this roster was Adam Troutman, former Saint tight end, brought over to the Denver Broncos. We were looking and looking and looking, all of us. I mean, any of us that were probably doing any type of scouting or setup of, in pre-draft knowledge. Albert, did you look at any tight ends coming into this draft? Did you have a lineup of tight ends that you would like to see go to this Denver Bronco roster? I guarantee you did. I knew you did. Jody, when you were looking over who the Denver Broncos should pick with their thirds and their fourths and their fifths and their sixth round pick, were you looking at tight ends at all?
I mean, I don't know about deep like that, but I definitely was as one Darnell Washington was sliding.
Yep. Yeah, especially when we start talking about this live and we started to see where these tight ends started to go. And yeah, I think this whole panel was about going crazy thinking Darnell Washington was going to be a pick at some point. And that was not the tight end that we ended up getting in this draft. The tight end that we ended up getting was a seasoned NFL experience pick. I'll just start this off just a little bit, and we'll go kind of around the horn on your guys' picks too, and just kind of how they fit in. But Adam Troutman, he does want to be utilized more than he was with the Saints, and in different ways than he was used with the Saints. And what I mean by that is he was primarily used as a blocking tight end for the Saints. He's a guy, 6'5", 255, out of Dayton. This is what I also like. Pick number 41 by the New Orleans Saints in the 3rd round. So, you know, got Leanna coming in. She's wondering where my jacket and glasses are, man. Unfortunately, until I get some prescription really cool glasses, Leanna, I'm going to have to maybe put those to the side if I'm going to be actually knowledgeable and reading what's going on, including your great comments. So thanks for joining in. The jacket, I mean, I did get a brand new, look going on here. I thought it was looking pretty good, but, old school kind of throwback Denver hoodie. I could maybe throw it up and cover the dome if you want, but no jacket and glasses tonight. And hey, got Kenny Kirkpatrick of that fantastic K&K show coming in here as well. Say, look at the top 3 picks in the Denver Bronco podcast. Good evening, fellas. Well, man, I think I would put either Albert or Jody in front of me, but I appreciate it, Kenny, saying that we're all top 3s. Really appreciate you jumping in here. And just a quick plug for Mr. Kenny, K&K Sports Show. Check them out, Facebook, YouTube. They have shows going on all the time, guys. Cover all sports, hockey, basketball, baseball, football, and have an avid Denver Broncos fan on the panel, and one Mr. Kurt Valente. So he finds a way to bring in the Broncos into, the all-pro darts discussion they may have going on, or the billiards discussion. No, they don't have darts and billiards, but I do tell you they cover a lot, and Kurt will get their get your Broncos plug in there as well. Leanna saying, did Don Johnson ask for my jacket back? No, Don Johnson didn't ask for my jacket back, but thank you.
Get out there. Shh.
Right. Digressing. Adam Troutman, guys, and the reason I want to bring up his stats of 6'5", 255 and he ran a 4.8 at 40 time, is one Chris Manhertz that was brought in to be the big dynamic blocking tight end. He's 6'6", 1 inch taller, 660 pounds, 5 pounds heavier, and he ran a 4.8 640. So it was like 0.05 slower. So
did you say 660 pounds?
260 pounds.
Oh,
Did I
okay.
say 660?
Yeah.
Because if he's 660, man, that guy's a rumbling at 4.86. No, let's go with 260 pounds. So we're just 5 pounds difference, 1 inch taller, and a little bit slower. And Chris Manhertz, I'm telling you, Adam Troutman is a much better receiver than what you see in Chris Manhertz, and he's really going to press this room. It'll be interesting to see. And I want to get your guys' thoughts, including maybe all those out there listening in and typing in with your comments, and appreciate you a ton. Where does this put our tight end room, guys? We have now Troutman, Manhertz, Dulcich, Albert O. There's got to be one man out. Is it the obvious Albert O out the door, guys? I got a Dutchie nodding his head. Go off, Mr. Dutchie.
So yeah, here's the thing. It could be that Mr. Dulcich is getting more of a receiving tight end, maybe even more of a wide receiver role, who can go across the middle, because Dulcich is very good at that. And even yards after the catch, Dulcich does not give up easily. And I think that is what makes a big difference between Alberto and Dulcich. So I think Alberto will be the odd man out.
Oh, very good, man. Man, that timing was perfect, man. We couldn't harmonize that any better, Dutchie. Jeez, odd man out. That being said, the only thing I don't like about your theory is if we really start to press Dulcich into more of a wide receiver role, and we want to try to get this later if we can, that wide receiver room is getting pretty full at this point. So we had to make some decisions there as well. So, Jody, your favorite guy in this draft, Mr. Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas. I'll just go over his stats real quick. 6'4", 235 pounds, ran a 4.6 640. Last year for Arkansas, had 103 tackles, 13.5 tackles for losses, 9.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Where does he fit in this linebacker room? Since you love him so much, he's got to be a good fit for him. How do you see him fitting into this room, Jody?
Well, I think he's going to do a lot of being on the field in long down situations in coverage. But I also think he's going to be pass rushing. I mean, he had 9.5 sacks last year, so
Yeah.
and that was as a hybrid linebacker, wasn't a true edge rusher. So, I mean, he's got skills where he can rush from the middle, he can rush from the outside. So I can see him being kind of a 3-down player where maybe, inside on a couple downs, rushing, maybe not a starter, but getting starter reps because of it.
Gotcha. And
it filled two needs with one player. I mean, he can play inside and edge.
Okay. When he's playing inside, who do you see him replacing when you're saying inside? Because there's a couple of inside positions that you could obviously go with. Obviously, right now,
I don't know
Josie
about
Jewell and Alex Singleton are the quote unquote inside linebackers. I understand that you want him maybe just kind of rotating in at times, but when he's rotating in, who do you see him primarily subbing out for? Who's subbing out and letting him come in?
I would say a little of both, but probably more Jewell. I mean, they just did re-sign Singleton to a nice deal. This is Jewell's last year here, or last year on his contract. But I think it's going to be a rotational, all three of them, and I think it's just going to make guys fresh because you also have Jonas Griffith, who's coming back off the injury, who was a starter before he got injured.
I agree.
I think a position that you didn't think you had a lot of depth at, now you have a decent amount of depth at.
Mm-hmm.
I also can see him, he reminds me a lot of Baron Browning, who could play inside and outside. The past says that Randy Gregory will not stay healthy. He has not stayed healthy. So you're going to need that depth there at edge as well. So I think he's just going to be kind of a tweener, kind of, I don't know what you want to call him, like an Isaiah Simmons type that's not really a linebacker, not really a true edge, but can get out there, do a little bit of everything.
That's a good comp as far as how he would obviously translate into this VJ defense. I like that Isaiah Simmons comparison. Obviously, a little different body type and a little bit different body style, but I certainly like that idea. And going back and watching tape, because again, linebacker wasn't high up on my list, so going back and watching some Drew Sanders tape, I did like, obviously he has that ability to be, off the edge, coming around the edge, always in a blitz package, especially in those passing situations. But I did see how he can definitely manage that middle linebacker, that, like you said, that Josie Jewell type of role. I like the way with his speed that he was able to sift through some of the mess and some of the garbage to get to the running back and get some tackles for losses. So, there's a lot going on for Drew Sanders. I'm excited about. It'll be interesting, like you said, exactly how he gets on the field, how he rotates in and out, who he's rotating in and out for, and really what positions they put him in. I think he can be a 3-down back, and I'm excited for him to maybe be that. It's funny. I wish he was in here right now. Victor was in our draft, and he was wanting to get rid of Josie Jewell, and he obviously talked a lot of trash, as he always does, towards Josie Jewell. But at the very end, going back through the chat, and I gave him a shout out for it, but he said, in all honesty, I like Drew Sanders, linebacker, Arkansas. If I was, all joking aside, I really like that guy. Well, hats off to you, man, Victor, because you got Drew Sanders, and I do agree that I think he can grow into being that guy that can take over for a Josie Jewell. So,
So another guy I mean, he's not as explosive and whatever, but a tweener type is Micah Parsons, where he plays inside, he plays outside, he just does a little of everything.
Yep.
Is he as explosive and elite as Micah Parsons? No. But, I mean, he can do those type of things. And to be honest, not everyone's going to be a Micah Parsons. That's a freak athlete, and
Correct.
you don't need that. I mean, you would like that, but you didn't draft him to be the next Micah Parsons.
Correct. Yeah, I'd say he's like Micah Parsons with minus like an eighth or a quarter of a step. He just doesn't have that. He can't get there as quick as a Micah Parsons does, but he's almost, and that's a good comparison as far as the position he plays and the way that he plays it, though. Micah Parsons would be a good.
I mean, if he can help shut down a tight end, and at the end of the season he's gotten you 6-7 sacks, that's an incredible rookie year for someone that's probably not going to start. So.
Yeah. All right, man. I want to get over to Albert. Albert, your favorite guy, Mr. J.L. Skinner.
Yep.
Pick number 183 in the 6th round. Out of the, nice pickup, and there's a reason that he ended up being there as well. Just really quick, 6'4", 209 pounds, 65 tackles, 4 interceptions out of the safety position. All right, you like him a lot. There's a lot of safeties on our roster as it sits already, and maybe an offer that's out there or an offer that's being pulled back maybe at the moment as well to one Mr. Kareem Jackson. How does J.L. Skinner fit into this safety room and onto this roster, buddy?
So in the beginning, I think he will be a rotational player, but I think he will, as soon as he gets his sea legs on, or let's call it that way, I think he will be a starter. I think by mid-season he will be a starter, because he was predicted way higher, but because he had an injury, that's why he dropped. He was graded as a 2nd-round pick if he was not injured. So, and that's why he's one of my favorite picks.
Yeah, just a different body style. But man, if he puts on a little bit of weight, and hopefully an NFL weight room can do that for him, because right now he is a senior, so he's not like a freshman, sophomore coming out or anything like that. He is, I believe, 26 years old, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong on that age. Don't hold me to that, but 4-year starter or 4-year player. He's a senior coming out, so you hope he still has some room to put on some weight. You'd like him to see him up in that 220-ish realm, at least get another 10 pounds about on his frame, especially at 6'4", because he's pretty tall and he's pretty lanky. But man, talk about just a heat-seeking missile. He is all over the field. Really, really plays into that free safety range. Really well.
Skinner is only 22.
22. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he does the 40 yards in a 4.55. I got his stats up right here.
Where did he run that 4.55? Does it say? Because I couldn't find any information. I know that he got injured at the Senior Bowl, so that's where. After the senior.
Before, I think.
It was after, because he actually looked pretty good at the Senior Bowl, and it was in between. It was in between that and the combine. So it may be a projected.
Or that's what I meant, before the combine. Sorry.
Before the combine. Yep. So
his pec.
Yeah, torn pectoral. It expects to be back really close to training camp time. I guess got in front of it and doing pretty good. So I like the guy. Like I said, it's amazing to watch him. He, as Dutchie pointed out, I think when he originally brought him up, he doesn't ignore contact at all. He seeks it. He goes after it. He can tackle. He's long and he's lanky, and he can really put pressure on some of the bigger receivers, especially in that free safety slot. So around a lot of breakups. Obviously had a few interceptions as well, and yeah, I like the addition. Albert, who does he replace when he comes on the field?
It's going to be, if K-Jack comes back, it's going to be K-Jack, but otherwise it would be. I think the what
Locke
is
and
his name?
Stearns.
Locke is moving down to 4th place. Stearns is probably going to be the starter if K-Jack is not coming back, and then they will have a rotational. He will rotate between Stearns and Skinner. Yeah.
Jody, is that how you see it? How do you see? I'd like to get your take, if you don't mind, on JL Skinner and how he fits into this this safety room. I'm going to say at this point, I would expect K-Jack not to be coming back.
I'll agree with that. If he is, it's not.
Yeah,
I think it's more just because of they want that veteran leadership.
Yeah, that's true.
So he have his 22 numbers here. He started 12 games and played 618 snaps. He logged 52 tackles, 14 assists, and made 19 stops. In coverage, Skinner had 2 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, and surrendered an outstanding QB rating when targeted of 37.8.
There you go, buddy. Yeah, first all West as well. Like you said, he was expected to go a lot higher. I saw him in the second, maybe third round, projected there prior to the injury.
The injury dropped him a little bit.
Oh yeah, it obviously dropped him quite a bit going in round 6. It wasn't just who he was or the school he came from or anything like that. It was definitely injury related. So yeah, I wanted to bring up Kenny Kirkpatrick. He has a favorite player as well, and it's one that we. It's funny, no one's went to the top of the board yet, but we'll get there. His favorite player was Riley Moss. Riley Moss out of Iowa, cornerback. One of our trades that we end up making. This was we end up packaging number 108 and our 2024 third round pick and sending it to the Seattle Seahawks, just so that we're tied to them for another year. And we pick up Riley Moss out of Iowa, 6'1", 193-pound cornerback. Ran a 4.45 in the 40. Has 11 career interceptions as well. What did you guys think about Riley Moss there in the third round?
I think it's an all right pick. I mean, I think they might have overreached a little bit, but cornerback probably was a need that. You probably had 3 starters, well, 2 for sure, and I think Devair Mathis played well last year, but you needed some more depth there.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a great special teams player. And I think you're going to see him on the field a lot in like nickel dime packages. He likes to come up and lay the wood. The only thing that I haven't really agreed with from other people is, well, he's slow. He runs the same 40 as Patrick Surtain, so they basically have the same 40 time. So they're right there. And that's the one thing I like. He comes up and he hits. He's not afraid to come up and make a tackle.
Sorry, for those who are just tuning in by audio only and not visual, we got a kitty tail across the screen on Dutchie's screen. So a little distracting, got me a little bit giggling. But I like the athlete that he is, though. I think what really ended up happening, and what maybe pressed this, into position, unfortunately, is Faion Hicks was actually drafted last year. Later, but he was the cornerback that everyone was looking to maybe take that jump here in this next year. to maybe be that third cornerback. With him having some issues off the field this offseason, I think that all but ruled Faion Hicks out of the equation, and it did press cornerback even more into necessity, a need to be put onto this roster. This guy, very similar to Faion Hicks. Faion Hicks was a very big hitter in the out of the cornerback position. I think that's something that you're going to get out of Riley Moss. But I also like, again, 9.5. I'm sorry, reading the wrong stat line there. 11 career interceptions for Riley Moss. He can get to the ball as well, man. He's a long, lengthy guy, and he likes to really. I think what he does the best is he's a kind of an edge corner, a guy that can really help press that wide receiver towards the boundary, and he's tall enough and he's lengthy enough that he competes for the ball in those situations as well. So I think that's where I would see him the most, is if you're looking for those edge corners discreetly, which we might see a little bit more of. We might see him being put into that situation. So
one thing I like about him too is he is coming from Iowa. He comes from an old school type of coach in Kirk Ferentz. And their offense was trash this year, and that defense kept him in a lot of games. I mean, there's a lot of teams in the Big Ten that like to throw the ball around a lot, and I mean, he was not getting burnt or anything. And that defense kept him in a lot of games, and he was one of the reasons for it.
Good point. I think even Kenny brought that up at the time when we had him on there as well. I was just reading over the comments. I see Matt Staffieros jumping in at this point. And thanks, Matt, for jumping in. Good point to bring up the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Of course, the Denver Bronco Roundup is brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, and Matt just happens to be a part owner over there at Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Those guys knocking it out of the park, man. The 5280 guys are back and putting some podcasts out. Got some brand new podcasts coming out on baseball, so check those out. Websites up and going and getting developed, and of course, all your Facebook and YouTube as well. Keeping you all up to speed on all your Colorado sports. Check out the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Like, share, and subscribe to them as well. So he says, looking back at the draft, man, the Eagles made out like bandits. He's like, how do you end up with Eli Ricks and Keely Ringo? Yeah, there was some crazy, and we talked about at the top of the show, just what you took away from this draft. Eagles, obviously, and they love Georgia guys.
The Philadelphia Bulldogs.
The Philadelphia Bulldogs are coming out. That's right, man. To the point that their GM, who's comes out of Florida, says, "I don't think I'm part of the alum anymore." As much as he's taking the Georgia guys. Detroit took some headlines as well as far as some of the moves that they were doing. Kenny's coming in and saying drafting all those Georgia players that dropped may be genius. It may backfire in their faces. I hope it's the latter. Kenny is a huge Giants fan, so any NFC East team who might have some struggles. So I think almost all Broncos fans are right on board with you as far as the Cowboys are concerned. I don't know very many Broncos fans who are also Cowboys fans, but also those Commanders and those Eagles. Kenny's looking to knock them down a few notches, allow his Giants to rule supreme in the NFC East. Again, check them out over on K&K. But guys, there was obviously a few other picks that we did pick up, and I wanted to get to those as well. Round 2, we take our number 68 pick and our number 183 pick. We kick it down over to the Lions and pick up the number 63 pick. Marvin Mims Jr. ended up being the pick. I think that shocked everybody across Broncos country. Certainly here in the DBR room, we were trying to figure out exactly where they were going, why they were moving up, who they were going to go get. Like I said, we had all our pre-draft knowledge, all our notebooks full, our spreadsheets up, and we're diving through them. Yeah, tear that up, throw that away. It's certainly as far as what we thought was going to be happening with that pick. Albert, we'll start off with you. Broncos pick up Marvin Mims Jr., like I said, out of Oklahoma. Here's a 5'11", 183-pound wide receiver who ran a blazing 4.3840. I mean, holy shnikes, man. That's a moving. 1,083 yards and 6 touchdowns last year for Oklahoma. How does Marvin Mims Jr. fit into this wide receiver room for you, buddy? And then we'll head over to Jody.
I think this might be the end of KJ Hamler, and with all the things that are happening on tight end, I think we will see at least 2 players go. KJ Hamler, most likely Sutton, and I think Washington might be gone too.
Still calling for a Sutton move, huh? You think Sutton's still being moved this year? Maybe a little off-season move for a team that still needs a wide receiver or has one go down? Is that your thoughts there, buddy?
That is indeed my thought. Right now, they don't have much cap space anymore, and they need to clear up some cap space. And what better way to do it than with Sutton?
Yeah, if you can get a guy a team that'll pick up all that cap, that would be fantastic. That'll be tough to do. Jody, how do you feel Marvin Mims Jr. fits into this wide receiver room, and what does he bring to the table come Sunday, week 1? I assume Sunday. Maybe it's Monday. Maybe it's Thursday.
I think he brings explosive speed. Will fill the slot nicely. And I'll agree with Albert. I think it puts 2 guys on notice. KJ Hamler, who has not been able to stay healthy, and Montel Washington, who really was not that great last year in the return game. Mm-hmm. And Marvin Mims can return. So, I mean, again, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So, I really like the pick. And it's something that Sean Payton has taken serious. You can see special teams is important. The last 2 years, Denver's, besides, the last 2 games, really, when they really haven't taken it serious, and it's shown with why they were at the bottom of the league in special teams the last couple of years.
Yeah, we could talk to everybody that we've spoke to now on this throughout this draft that's been added to this roster, and you could, if nothing else, if they have a hard time getting into the rotation, getting reps on the field in their position, you could definitely look up and down and say, can we find a spot for Marvin Mims on special teams? Yeah, I think so. Drew Sanders? Yeah, I think so. Riley Moss? Yeah, I think so. J.L. Skinner? Yeah, I think so. All 4 of these guys are, if nothing else, absolute monster special teams guys that will be fantastic to have on the sideline in order to be those substitute guys when it comes to linebacker, cornerback, safety, or a wide receiver if need be, when Marvin Mims Jr. might not be just doing returns only, maybe to start off. It's a good point, Jody. I talked about it because the only thing that's a little bit wild is it wasn't a big contract, but I believe it was Preston Smith that we went out, wide receiver / kick returner that we got to start off free agency. Like I said, wasn't big dollar. It's not like we can't wipe those dollars off the books if we happen to move on from him. But hey, when a guy like Marvin Mims Jr. is within firing range of Peyton, then this is what you get. You get Marvin Mims Jr. in the house, and you may have to move on from some of these other guys, including a Preston Smith, including a Montrell Washington, including a KJ Hamler, which I think is almost a foregone conclusion at this point. And Albert's still looking to find ways to get maybe Sutton out the door in order to get a little bit of cap space and free up this wide receiver room as well. So,
I mean, I think you probably likely will see Marvin or Mims probably punt return, and you might see Preston Smith kick return. You still need that depth at cornerback and special teams, so I think both of them stick around. I don't really know what Montel Washington's role is here. I mean, I was looking earlier. I mean, you're 11 deep at wide receiver with decent talent, and Montel Washington is wasn't brought here to play wide receiver. He wasn't
No.
drafted for that. So I don't know. I don't know what you really do with him. I mean, he's really going to have to up his return game in OTAs and preseason to win a spot.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, when you bring in like a Marvin Mims Jr., just as an example, and you're drafting him up in the second round, that's dollars and that's years on contract. Something that Montreal Washington, again, is not going to have as much of because he wasn't drafted as high as a second round
And they
pick.
traded up for Mims.
Correct. So and you can start to go down the again, if maybe a Preston Smith and the like. Again, you start pushing these, and the fact that, again, Montreal Washington, Albert was hopeful at one point if we didn't happen to get a wide receiver like this. And we talked about it in a prior episode about Montreal Washington maybe being able to take those steps and be that wide receiver and be that position that KJ Hamler couldn't fill because of injuries. But now with Sims coming in, and I had to agree with Dutchie, I think it's bad news for both Washington and Hamler. One fell swoop. It's an easy 2 out the door. I think, Jody, you said the same thing. So,
I mean, while we're on that topic, I mean, let me find it here. I laid it out a little bit earlier. I mean, where are we? I mean, you're 10. I got it here. You're 10.
all right.
You're 10 deep at wide receiver. I don't know what I mean, Judy, Sutton, Patrick, Mims. I think those are all locks on this roster, probably.
Right now, I'd have to agree.
Yeah. Marcus Callaway, I think, is probably going to be a lock. That's 6. That's 5. You brought in Little Jordan Humphreys, KJ Hamler, Kendall Hinton, Jalen Virgil, Brandon Johnson, Montel Washington. And you're 11 deep, but someone's not sticking around. So
someone ain't hanging. That's what that's what the judge says. Someone's not hanging on this roster. I agree, buddy.
I think they're only going to keep maybe 5, maybe 6 at the most. Because don't forget, we have Dulcich too, and he can play the role of wide receiver as well.
When I took this current roster, and I only brought one outside guy, and I signed a offensive tackle for depth, I ended up with 7 wide receivers, and I did not have Washington. I did not have Hinton, who is going to be borderline making it because he can't play the slot and he can still return if need be. So,
yeah, fair. Another returner.
And he still makes. He still produced. He was probably a top 3 wide receiver for you last year, really.
Okay, but this is what I'm going to get at, and this is maybe a great segue to this. Broncos Country, we got to stop falling in love with the names that just happen to be here. Kendall Hinton was a top 3 wide receiver. Why? Tim Patrick, down. KJ Hamler, gone. You know what I mean? We were I would even say Sutton, checked out. Judy, maybe not producing yet because he really came on in the last 5 games. Someone had to be thrown to. Someone had to catch the ball. So when you start hearing all these names and you hear this list of 12 guys and you hear guys like Brandon Johnson can move on. You can move on from Brandon Johnson. I guarantee there's plenty more talent out there on rosters, coming off rosters, undrafted free agents, whatever have you, that can replace a Brandon Johnson. We need to start thinking about who our top 5 or 6 guys are going to be. And then you got to start looking at, is Callaway good enough? And do we want to replace him next year? Is Sutton good enough? Does he need to be moved on to, and we need to replace him with somebody? I just, maybe it's because I saw Philip Lindsay and his plea to come back, and play, and everybody needing Latavius Murray to come back, and we can talk about where he went and certainly the holes that we have there as well, if you guys wish. But sometimes we need to fall out of love with some of the names that we've just happened to have on roster and we happen to see on the field from time to time. And this wide receiver room, I think, is definitely obviously a spot where we'll have to do it as Jody went through those names, man. Sorry,
I
didn't mean to
mean,
like cut you off or anything like that. I just thought it needed to be said, bud.
one thing for me is I'm going to watch 2022. I mean, name for me one offensive player who put up elite numbers or did anything great. No one. So I'm not going to say Sutton was down last year. I'm not going to say whatever because no one produced from Russ to anyone. No one had elite numbers. No one did anything. So
Correct.
I need to go and I'm hoping with coaching and some different things that Sutton gets back to where he was pre-ACL injury. I'm hoping Patrick comes back. I'm hoping some of these things. Marcus Callaway put up decent numbers the 1 year in New Orleans with Sean Payton as his coach. And I throw names in like Brandon Johnson, Jalen Virgil. I mean, Brandon Johnson was probably all but a lock to make this roster last year until he got hurt in the last game. Jalen Virgil, I mean, elite speed, just for whatever reason, same reason Albert O, we just don't play elite talent, I guess, or, put playmakers on the field last year. So I think it's going to be a real battle, and it's going to be tricky. Do you keep 6? Do you keep 7? Can you go less at one position to keep these guys on the field?
Yeah, I think it is going to be difficult because you do have other rooms like the linebacker room that I think is also going to stretch this roster, because we have, whether you're talking about edge rusher / linebacker room, if you want to start to put all those guys into one group and decide who you want and who you don't want to be on this roster as you get to your 53, it's going to be another tough room that you have to go through as well. But I want to get to our last pick. Nobody was around for this. I had to work. You guys were off on your weekend duties as well. But we did finally, I looked through all my research and tried to see how many of these guys right before we came on I actually had any information on. I did have a little bit of information on Riley Moss, but certainly wasn't top of the list, I guess you could say, on any of these names, including obviously a 7th round pick that we end up picking up. Alex Forsyth, Oregon center. Not the center we were thinking, Albert, and I don't know about you, Jody, but I'm sure center was on your list as well. I know it was across all of Broncos country. A lot of people thought that would be one of our top picks that we'd be going after. In fact, when we were trading up into round 2, there was even some speculation maybe it was center at that position as well. But Alex Forsyth, like I said, out of Oregon, 6'4", 303 pounds. The best stat I think I can give for him is sacks allowed in 2022. That would be 0. 0 sacks allowed. Was 2nd team All-American and 1st team All-Pac-12. Guys, why is Alex Forsyth available in the 7th round? And before you answer that, I really like Michelle's Knopper's comment here. She said, new names gives an excuse to buy new jerseys. Just saying. Yeah, and number changes too. Might see that in the future as well if Jerry Jeudy can swing for that one. Jody, why is Mr. Alex Forsyth sitting here in the 7th round when he's 2nd team All-American, 1st team All-Pac-12? He's a 6'4", 303 pound guy up front that has allowed 0 sacks in his last season at Oregon.
I think mainly because of the offense he came from. They kind of ran more of a, wouldn't call it traditional offense there in Oregon. They never
Pretty
really
open.
Pretty open. But I think it's a good pick. I don't know that he's going to come in and start day 1. I think Sean Payton kind of made that clear, not addressing center right away, that he wanted an experience. He wanted someone that's been experienced to do that, and that's why I think Cushenberry will probably be your starter day 1. But this gives you good depth on the inside. I thought Luke Wanberg was not good last year, so you can move on from him. Between Kyle Fuller and Forsythe, there's your two inside guys, along with Quinn Bailey, and then you can look at some other guys at depth at tackle. So I mean, it's a good depth piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Albert, your thoughts on Mr. Forsythe at Oregon? Any insights there?
From what I understand, the scheme that we are going to run, from what we think that we're going to run heavy and a power scheme. I don't think this was a good fit because he's not really a power scheme guy. So I don't know. They see something in him, so it's up to them.
Yeah. Obviously, 7th round. You can be picky, I guess you could say, on a 7th round pick if you really want to, because he's not a 1st round talent. There's going to be, as Albert kind of put it, maybe not the best fit as far as scheme is concerned. 303, maybe not the heaviest guy out there when it comes to centers. You know, some centers are going to be pushing up in the 320s sometimes as well. So it'll be interesting to see, though. He's pretty impressive on the field, but he, like you, as both you guys pointed out, in a completely different scheme than what we're expecting the Broncos to play.
I've been saying that for a while. I think we're gonna run a lot more, but then I take a step back and say we never addressed running back. And are you gonna be 30 touches a game running team with Samaje Perine and Tony Jones Jr., who last year had like 5 or 10 carries? Samaje Perine was not a starter last year.
Yep.
And he could surprise us and he could be ready week 1, but I just don't see Javonte Williams being ready anywhere close week 1. My guess is he probably will start the season on PUP. So, I mean, either they've got other guys in the works in free agency like a Zeke or somebody like that, or they're going to try to trade for Austin Eckler or do something because I can't see if you're going to be this run-heavy team like we've all predicted that they're going to be, and Samaje Perine and Tony Jones Jr. are your running backs to start the season.
This is true. Dutchie, I know that at the very top of the show you were alluding to something, and I said I'd leave it for you. I think this is the right spot, if I remember correctly. Do you want to drop your knowledge here, buddy?
Yeah, they are going to invite to the Broncos the running back from XFL. He is the top 2 running back in yards as a running back. But he is the number 1 also in receiving yards in the XFL. I forgot his name, but he's getting invited to come to the Broncos. And he is I believe he is a baller as well.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing for me with talking the run game.
Yeah, I just want to bring up his stats just really quick. So his name is Jacquez Patrick. He, like I said, former XFL. He did get a couple of starts with San Francisco. He did kind of get bounced around. He was in Baltimore. He was in Cincinnati. Again, been one of the standouts in the XFL. 115 carries for 443 yards, 5 touchdowns on the ground, 30 passes for 238 yards. Scored 4 of his 5 touchdowns during the final 3 games, including a season-high 96-yard. But he is, and I wanted to see if I could find his stats, but I think I want to say he's 6'4", 235. Big body guy, man. And it kind of fits that Latavius Murray role. It'll be interesting. Obviously, XFL is a completely different level of talent. There's a reason that it's not the NFL, and he wasn't able to make a whole lot of starts in the NFL since he's been in the league. I believe he was entered the league in 2020, if I remember correctly. So, anyway, just wanted to add that in that is an addition that is being invited in, and another piece to the room if you weren't aware.
See, this is the other problem. If we want to get an Eckler or maybe in Derrick Henry, because there is an option too. We don't have the draft capital to do that.
Correct. Yeah, we'd have to be more looking at like a Zeke, who's on the street, or something along those lines. Obviously, it's too early to scour the free agent / cut list as of right now, but we could obviously see some names start tumbling in the weeks ahead too. So, Jody, like I said, didn't mean to cut you off, but you were
No, it's
talking
all
about this.
good.
You were talking a little bit about this running back room. I'll let you get back to it if you like.
When Russ was at his best and Seattle was really cooking, the run game was elite there with beast mode, and then so if they, I mean, I think Samaje Perine could have a big year here. I just don't know that that's your 300 carry running back for the season. I mean, because until I see otherwise, I'm not expecting anything from Javonte Williams.
So let me flip this around to you then, Jody, and we can get Albert's opinion after you. We haven't seen the big, like as you said, the running back focus in order to make this a run heavy team, at least at this point. But we did see us go up and get a Marvin Mims Jr. in the second round. We did go out and get an Adam Troutman, who said straight up in his one of his last interviews, I forced my way out of New Orleans because I was being utilized as only a blocking tight end, and I want to be more.
Right.
Is this going to be a run-heavy team, or is this going to be a multiple tight end pass-heavy team?
I think you might see a little of both. I think you might see a lot of maybe a little RPO. I think you're going to see a lot of boots. I think you're going to see a lot of short little passes to get the ball in the running back hands, which is where Samaje Perine really excelled in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they still are they're gonna have to bring in someone else, and he's probably not my favorite guy. But whether you are or not, and I just use Zeke as an example. He's an elite pass blocker. You can probably the longer he's out there, the cheaper you probably can get him.
Yeah,
elite pass blocker can. I mean, he probably fills the role probably better than like a Latavius Murray, who's off the street. So,
Yep. For any of you Broncos fans who didn't catch the news, Latavius Murray did sign a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. So no longer is Latavius Murray an option to come back to our Broncos. Obviously, one of the key pieces in the running game last year, as we've kind of mentioned, especially after Javonte Williams did go down. So it is a spot that we maybe thought we had a 1B or a number 2 running back behind a Samaje Perine. Certainly an option as far as Latavius Murray is a downhill runner, and he's not a threat in the passing game like you would expect a Samaje Perine. So just a good 1-2 punch. That's all out the door now. So when you do start talking about big street names, Zeke has got to be one of the names. Like you said, as much as I may like it or I may not like it, and I'm on the latter, I may not like that particular fit or that particular name coming to the Denver Broncos, I should say. But that being said, we probably do need some help in that room. Maybe it's an XFL star that can come in and show off. That would be an amazing story. It's tough for that to happen. It does look like either A, we're going to have to add to this running back room, or I'm telling you, if you're going out there and you start talking about these guys like a Troutman, like a Manhurts, like a Dulcich, and you start being able to mix these guys in a tight two tight end set, you can start shifting your blocking schemes so that maybe a Cushenberry could be hidden a little bit better, and B, you also have some ability to still press as far as a wide receiver, even if it's a late release from one of these tight ends. I'm just thinking that maybe at least to begin with, until Javonte comes around, maybe this is more of a pass-first type of offense that transitions into that power running scheme once we get 100% healthy. It just looks and feels that way to me. But that's early projections. So,
You bring up Kush. I think once they didn't address center in free agency, it kind of, for me, sealed the fate that he was going to be the starter. It was. I think it had a lot to do with Peyton didn't want a rookie in there, because that's the guy calling your protections, and that's the guy this and that. And from all accounts, Lloyd Cushenberry was really good at that. And hopefully him not playing and coming reports he was healthy. Hopefully he bulked up in the weight room and can, sustain some more, not get driven back in the pocket. That's where I kind of, once they didn't address it, that's why I think that they were sold on him being the guy for reasons like that.
I would have to agree with you. The thing is he was highly regarded when he came out of college. It was, according to many experts, a great pickup when the Denver Broncos brought him onto the roster. I also looked at when he went to college, he was at LSU, and Sean Payton was coaching the New Orleans Saints, and we all know how you end up looking in your own backyard sometimes in order to find your talent. So he was probably very familiar with who Lloyd Cushenberry was, and feels like he can help this athlete become the center that the Denver Broncos need. I'm hoping it's the case. I agree with Jody. He probably needs to bulk up a little bit and be able to push some guys around, hold his own at the point, not get driven back, and get a little bit better at picking up some stunts from time to time as well. But it looks like that's the guy we're going to be rolling with. Might get a Forsythe that pushes him. That would be amazing for him, for a 7th rounder though, rookie, to jump all the way up and take the starter position from a guy who's now had to do it for a couple different offenses, and seems to do pretty well from at least the mental aspect of the game, as you just pointed out, Jody. Gentlemen, we're kind of getting up against the clock. I want to give you guys a chance to wrap up with whatever you'd like to, but we should probably get rolling out of here and get prepared for next week's show. So, Mr. Albert, Mr. Dutchy, how you doing, sir? Seems like it's been a second since I let you talk, but I'll give you a second on the mic and tell me what your thoughts are getting out of here.
So I think we really had a good draft. Some surprises. I think for me, if I have to grade it, it would be a B plus.
Okay.
And so they covered some spots that were needs, and I think wide receiver might be a little bit questionable, but other than that, they addressed several spots. We got 5 picks, and we ended up with 6 players. You cannot do much better, I think.
Love it, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's really good. Mr. Jody Moncrief, let's hit that real quick. What are your thoughts overall on this draft? Would you want to grade this?
I'll give it everyone's about instant reaction, but I'll give it probably a solid B. They found great depth guys, guys that are going to play special teams as well. You can see that that's going to be really important.
Mm-hmm.
And they got some other guys that, like Marvin Mims and Drew Sanders, who maybe not this year, but next year can slip right in at starting roles.
I like it. Albert, you started at the very beginning of the show. You started talking about this. You said, if you go out there and you try to get to some type of a semblance of, what the draft grade is for the Broncos from the national media, you could be as high as top 10 team, or you could be as high as the bottom 2, depending upon who you're listening to and who you're watching and who you like. That being said, I was thinking about this before we even got on the air. I don't know if I want to give a grade. If I had to give a grade, I'm just going to give a flat C. And the reason being is because you really don't know about the impact of these guys.
That's where I'm at.
To truly know the impact, it's going to take a few years. But give me at least this. Let me get through OTAs. Let me get through training camp. Let me see how much these guys are pushing some of these guys that are already on the roster. And then I can start, in my opinion, I can start to give you a grade. If all of a sudden, you know how you have a guy like Drew Sanders who's starting to push for Josie Jewell's job, this first year in existence, well, that's a completely different grade than if he's, really struggling and it's going to take him 2 years to really see the field. Two completely different things. Same things as you go all the way down this roster. I don't care if you're talking Riley Moss or Marvin Mims or Alex Forsythe for that matter. Alex Forsythe, like I said, could be the biggest surprise out of all of this for all we know. So I'll give you a flat C. It basically give you a middle line grade until you prove me wrong or prove me different. Show me what you got. I'll be raising that grade, right up there. Start to fall apart. But I'll tell you this, guys. I did like, and we talked about it before, the type of athlete that they're on here. If you can start talking about all these guys and start talking about them being impact special teamers this year and that they have the ability to come in here and help, you're already helping out your roster day one. It's better than, I was really surprised when the Patriots, for the first time since I believe 2003, it made it a team that it took a kicker and a punter in the same draft. I can't imagine being in that draft room and trying to have
in the third round even.
In the third round, no doubt. So, I just can't imagine being the draft room reaction. You're thinking, ooh, who are we going to get here? Impact player. We got the punter. All right.
I always laugh when you just go look at the Raiders when they took Janikowski round 1.
100%, man. 100%. Man, that guy, I really did like that guy, though, man. I remember liking him. Before he went to the Raiders, I'll be honest, I'm like, if Janikowski can make it to the Denver Broncos with his leg at mile high, I just thought we'd be, any 70-yard field goal would just be in range. You know what I mean? So I was always big on Janikowski. Paul Montoya, we are a PG-13 show, but the Denver Broncos are the best, and the rest of them can go elsewhere. Yes. I just want to acknowledge that you're here. Appreciate the support. Appreciate everybody's support, whether it be Paul's or Michelle's or Kenny's or Matt's. Appreciate everyone that jumps in here. Leanna was in here earlier in the show. Guys, we're about ready to wrap it up, but I do need to give a shout out just really quick to our fantastic sponsor. And I'm kind of ashamed I haven't. It's taken me till now, because what Willow Seasonings has going on right now is fantastic for you, for me, and for a family in need. So right now, it was supposed to be a month-long deal. Now it's a year-long deal, a season-long deal. DBR 2023 is the promo code. WillowSeasonings.com is the website for the award-winning seasonings and sauces company that has taken Colorado by storm and across the globe, across the country, because he doesn't like to ship out of country, across the country, and that's Willow Seasonings and Blends. So, guys, they have a fantastic assortment of spices and sauces. I got one of them right here. It's their award-winning Sweet Heat, just as an example. Like, as Dave described it, it's not hot. It's just the right amount of spice. But, guys, if you go over there to DBR 2023, it gets you 15% off. Amazing discount. I can't believe Dave is doing this for the entire time. On top of it, we have a big family in need right now. And that's the Favela family. Zach Favela, who was a big supporter of Rocky Mountain Sports Network and Rocky Mountain Sports Report before it was even Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Unfortunately, he recently passed away. He left behind his wife, his 2 kids, and his wife just recently found out they're pregnant with twins. They could use their help. For every single time that code is used, $1 is being donated to the Favela family from Willow Seasonings. So, guys, if you can, please go over to willowseasonings.com. I don't know a better way to both spice up your life with award-winning spices and sauces at a fantastic price, 15% off, and feel good about yourself that you're helping a family that definitely needs it during this time. WillowSeasonings.com, spice up your life. Head on over to their website, check it out. Great selection of, like I said, sauces and seasonings, and I just can't say it enough, guys. Great seasoning company and doing great things. Yes, Paul, the Broncos are the best. Just to let you know, even though we're on Facebook or on YouTube, I agree. So, trying to get in here however he possibly can. Paul, we appreciate you, sir. Just one of our great supporters. And Paul, if you like, head over to willowseasonings.com. Type in DBR 2023, get that 15% off. Maybe you could leave a comment on their suggestion board, like you're leaving comments for us. I appreciate it. So, gentlemen, next week we'll be back Tuesday, 6:30, 6:45, probably right in that realm. Appreciate you guys as always. Appreciate the Dutchie. Appreciate the Judge, Jody. You guys have a fantastic week. DBR, Broncos Country, you have a fantastic week. Can't wait to be back here next week. Be interesting to see what news comes in the week ahead. Until then, we're going to get out of here. Have a great night, everybody.